Okay, Brian, we're out in the cornfield. It's about 5 weeks after the emergence of the corn. And what we're going to be doing here today is evaluating the corn stand. Normally this is something that you probably should be doing in that 1 to 2 leaf stage and get on early. So what are the sorts of things that we're going to be looking at, Brian?
I think what we want to do today is we're obviously going to walk through the field and do some staging to see where we're at. And we're also verifying our planting, how well we did at planting. Did the planter plant to the population that we were targeting? Was there any skips and doubles? How's our emergence? Did it all emerge evenly? Those are all important factors when planting corn. At planting, we have a certain population that we target. That's all related to our estimated or our targeted yield at the end of the year. So we have a specific population we're after, which can vary by location. But for our area, we have a number in mind, and we're going to have a look and see how we did.
So we're doing these counts, Brian. Obviously we were in a pretty good stand here, but if you look around the field, there are areas that are a little bit thinner, and when you're doing your counts, you should be moving throughout the field at several locations. We'll show you how to do a count later, just to evaluate the different types of areas in the field.
Right, I think it's important to walk throughout the field. There's areas in the field that can tell different stories about why is there a lower emergence, or why is there an area in the field that maybe looks different. And this can all be documented. One of the platforms that we use is Crop Matrix, which is a digital platform that we can use to take pictures, monitor planting date, growth stages, and keep track of it during the year. And it can be kept track of as you return to the field, it's documented. And also when other agronomists go to the field, they can also pull up my field record and they can see where I've scouted and areas I've looked at, so they can go back to areas that were maybe a concern or something that we should look at. So it's a good way of tracking your field throughout the year.
So it's time now to confirm the population. Brian, what did you plant at here?
So our target plant population for this area was 34,000 plants per acre. That's a population that we are comfortable with for our soil condition, our environment, and what we figured is our population to attain our highest yield. What we're going to do now is we're going to verify that population to see if we had, say, crusting at plant or after planting, if we had a frost or, say, a heavy rain or some sort of weather event that maybe could have reduced our population. Then we can make a decision if something needs to be done, whether the crop is adequate or not. So we still have time to make that decision, but every field is different, and once you make your verification of your population, then you can confirm how well your planter did, and if any changes need to be made. It could be noticeable by row as well. You could notice that one row could look different, and you might have to go back and check your planter to see why one row looks different than the other. So there's lots of things that we can learn from just walking through the field and doing plant counts right now.
So to verify a population, you basically need a tape measure. You need a couple things you need to know. You need a tape measure, and you're going to need to know your row spacing. So a pretty traditional way of doing population checks is to go through several areas throughout the field, good ones and bad ones, and count the number of plants in 1/1000th of an acre. So with a 30-inch row, we're looking at 17 feet 5 inches. You know, that's going to change. 22, the way I do this is I write it on my tape measure. 22 inches, you're looking at 23 feet 10 inches. So know your row width and just know how many feet of row you need to count to get to 1/1000th of an acre. So early on in the year, another thing that a grower needs to consider is his weed control program. Brian, here you've done a post-seeding pre-emerge type application, which is a good thing to do, but now we need to get back into the field and have a look and assess how it's doing, and we do see some weeds coming now. When you're late in the year and you're looking at 8-foot tall corn, yeah, it looks very competitive, but this crop early in the year does not compete well with weeds.
No, it doesn't. And what I've learned now as a corn grower is the importance of early weed removal. We have a lot of options available, and our agronomy group understands the products very well too. But to me, the importance is getting out there and doing a good post-seed or pre-seed, pre-emerge application, and taking advantage of residual products. So we have a lot of options out there that can help to control weeds before they emerge. Because as Bruce said, corn is a very non-competitive crop. So in my opinion, if you come out at this time, 5 weeks after planting, and you see weeds in your rows, you've already lost yield. You've already missed that critical weed removal time. So it's very important that your corn is weed-free to me all the time. So right now it's a really good time to come out here. We're getting into that later staging of corn, which we're going to look at. We're going to do some leaf counts, and we're going to see obviously our corn stage, and look at our weed staging too, to see what products we can come out here with. Make sure we're tank mixing the right combinations, getting the right mode of actions down there to use multiple mode of actions, and target the weeds that we're after, and making sure we do the best with the application we can do to keep our weeds under control.
Another thing we need to determine when we're out at this time of year, we're probably looking at a post application, and growers are going to have to stage their crop depending on what type of herbicide program they're going to go ahead with. They really do need to understand that there are different ways of staging the crop.
And it's important to know when you're referring to your staging and you're talking to either your agronomist or your farm customer, what staging method you're using, because that can affect your herbicide application timing as well as crop safety. So these are really important things that we need to do, and we're going to demonstrate those 3 different methods for you.
One of the things we need to talk about, especially at this time of year, is how to determine the growth stage of the corn plant. This is important, especially with things like herbicide applications. Unfortunately, there are 3 different ways to determine growth staging, and you better know the label, the herbicide label you're dealing with, and what growth staging approach they're using, so you can get your applications right. One of the problems with this is if you use the wrong growth staging approach, you may be too late, and you actually may cause crop injury and cost you yield. So we'll start with the simplest first, leaf tip. So the beautiful thing about a corn plant is it's got an alternate leaf arrangement. So the leaves are 1, 2, 3, 4. It's opposite sides of the stem. So this plant here, you start down at the bottom. This first leaf is a blunt leaf. It's easy to identify, and it's the lowest on the plant. So leaf tip 1, leaf tip 2, leaf tip 3. See how I'm going across the plant? Leaf tip 4, leaf tip 5, leaf tip 6, leaf tip 7, and inside here, leaf tip 8. So this is an 8 leaf tip plant. Corn is not a very competitive plant. You need to protect the yield during the critical weed-free period. Okay, there is a period of growth where if weeds are competing with the corn, it's going to cost you yield. Okay, so using a leaf tip approach, the critical weed-free period is from the 4 leaf tip up to the 10 leaf tip. Okay, and this is still a plant that needs protected. Okay, the next approach would be the floppy leaf approach. Again, pretty simple approach, and this is an approach I use for a product like Roundup. And what you're looking for is a leaf that's flopping over. So floppy leaf 1, floppy leaf 2, floppy leaf 3, floppy leaf 4, floppy leaf 5, floppy leaf 6. This one's starting to flop. Probably I would call this a 7 just to be safe. This one in the center is not flopping. Don't count it. Okay? So this is floppy leaf 7. Critical weed-free period using this approach would be in that 3 to 8 floppy leaves. The last approach is probably the hardest to explain. You need to know what a leaf collar is. So what a leaf collar is, and it's pretty easy to see on some of these, and we're looking for visible collars, is here you have a leaf, and if you pull it back, the leaf is part of the stem to start with, but you're looking for this region where it leaves the stem and becomes a leaf blade. So this region in here is called the collar, and you need to be able to see it to do the counts. So we have a collar here at the first one, obviously, second one, 2 collar, third one, 3 collar, fourth one, 4 collar. Okay, so this is a 4 collar plant. Okay. So quite a bit different numbers. We've got 4 collars, 7-leaf floppy, 8-leaf tip. So you better know how to count for these different herbicides. The critical weed-free period using collar approach is in that 2 to 6 collar area. Again, using all 3 approaches here, this is a plant that needs to be protected. So those are your approaches. Read your label for your herbicides and know how they want you to count.
Nitrogen fertility is really important in corn. So there are multiple ways to apply your nitrogen. You can apply it all up front before planting. You can also do split applications. Either one is good, but one ways that we look at it at Kelburn Farm is we look at split applications. We apply an adequate amount up front and then assess in season according to our environmental conditions. So what does our plant stand look like? What does our crop look like right now? And then we're able to come in and top dress some additional nitrogen. We can use multiple options. We can use a Y drop, we can use coulters. There's multiple ways of applying your nitrogen. One other thing we're using to determine what that additional nitrogen amount could be is by using soil probes that tell us how much water is available in the soil profile to help us determine what's there for water, what's our yield goal, what's our possible yield goal. We know we can easily go out and look at the surface right now and think we're dry. We know what we're getting for rainfall or lack of right now, but we don't know what's below the surface. So being able to know those additional things helps us determine maybe how much nitrogen we want to add and how much our yield goal or potential could be.